Hello everyone. We'll talk about interpretation and report writing in this particular video. We'll understand why report writing is so important and what do we write as far as research are concerned, how to present our interpretation. Report writing, why do we do it? There might be a number of reasons. So the basically we need to write in a journal, probably write for our degrees in terms of thesis, in terms of dissertations. We need to report, make a report which needs to be submitted to our higher authorities. The project statement, the project specification, design memo, proposals, and report. The proposal report where we formulate and probably present it of what actually is expected out of a research. Now, yes, these are the reasons why report writing is so important, so vital for you to understand journal paper, thesis, dissertation, reports, project statement, project specification, design memos, proposals, and report thereby. So elements, what are the various elements of the format of a report that we look to go forward for? First and foremost is the title page, the title about what the project is all about it. The executive summary or the abstract. Even people call it synonyms of the what has been contained in the report. Instead of going through the details of the report page by page, if we can study the abstract, probably we'll have a clear understanding of what is mentioned in the report. Introduction thereof, about the problems, about the issues, the theories and analysis about how we are approaching those problems, and what are the theories that we are utilizing, what are the analytical methods that we do to go around it. Experimental procedures is now defined upon the problems, what have the experiments that we carry forward to. Now, for every experiments that we take forward, there has to be an outcome which might be to our liking or otherwise. So we need to discuss those results. We need to understand those discussions and probably come to a conclusion. So yes, we have to have title, abstract, introduction, theories, experimental procedures, resultant discussion, and last but not the least is conclusion. Here comes the culmination of the report, but probably not the end of it. So from where all acknowledgement, where all sources have we studied, theories have been brought, things have been exchanged, and probably our principal foundations of the report or the analysis to the problem, approach to the problem is based upon, we need to give them due acknowledgement, needs to mention the references from where the data have been sought around it, and if there are any appendix in terms of tables, formats, data, information that anybody wants to access in the first code need to be mentioned in the appendix. So yes, these are the elements of the reports. Again, to understand, to clarify, let me tell it to you. It's title, it's abstract, it is introduction, then theories and analysis, experimental procedures, results and discussion, conclusions, acknowledgement, references, and appendices. That is what we are looking forward to. Again, time and again is what we would like to mention here and there. Writing mechanics, very simple and straightforward. Checking your spelling, checking your grammar, minimizing the use of acronyms. Acronyms are abbreviation words about it. Please elaborate so that there's nothing been left to interpretation or understanding or imagination, perhaps. If acronyms are necessary, always define them at the very first usage, or probably at the bottom of every pages you have to mention it. Number, all equation, all tables, all figures. This can be also be mentioned in your appendix. All table figures must have caption. All figures must be labeled with axis. All quantities must have a unit. Please do not leave it empty or altogether, and try to avoid footnotes. Writing style, depending upon the audience with whom you are addressing, if it is your superior that we are trying to do around it, if you are trying to gain a degree, perhaps, if it is an academic interest, if it is presenting in a journal, the format that needs to be dealt with. So try to define your audience and then present the report, write the report. More lively writing usually is preferred. First person, active voice, be on the present, past tense. More formal writing is the third person, passive voice, past, present tense, and never, please avoid slang. Usages of a daily slang would be only detrimental to the report or the quality of the report. Writing style, first person, when do we write it? Active voices, it be it on the first voice, past tense, third person, passive voice, past tense. Writing style not recommended when the clean, let's say, I'll just give you an example. Clean the gallium arsenide, subtract by boiling them in trichloroethylene. Did any one of you make sense? It has a perfect sense, but none of us could understand. Not recommended is I clean the gallium arsenide substrate by boiling them in trichloroethylene. Now, I have first was on a third party, the third person stance. The second was on the first person stance where I owned it up. But still, did any one of us understand what is gallium arsenide? Probably an acceptable version would be the gallium arsenide substract were cleaned by boiling trichloroethylene. Now that is what makes a little bit of a sense, but recommended is we recommend the gallium arsenide subtract by boiling them in trichloroethylene. Now you look at the sense, the tense, and the way it has been presented. The similar content, presentation style differs, and the interpretation comes to a different angle altogether. Writing centers improve your grammar, improve your style. Read the science of scientific writing. Quote, if the reader is to grasp the writer means the writer must understand what the reader needs. That is what is all about it. Organize your paper, read critical reading towards critical writing. Quote, ask how does this text work? How is it argued? How does the text reach its conclusions? And that is what we are talking in terms of organizations altogether. This is organization that comes there. Now, how do we go across it? So we have an introduction, we have procedures, and then probably discussion. Or should I say, from a particular understanding, we can generalize the phenomena. That has been done. So we are trying to have an overall organization for research paper altogether. So writing the report, let me give you an approach wherein certain authors will always give the result first at the very bang of it. This is what we need to go forward. Begin by analyzing and understanding your data. So from here you start fragmenting your data, coming up with different solutions altogether. This is what we try to forward to it. First and foremost, probably we have mentioned the result. The result section can include figures, diagram, plots labeled which are captioned, and definitely titled. So data you didn't expect, data that were presented during the course of researches, your description of the figures, your interpretations and conclusions that we need to go around it. So that's one of the approaches that comes around it. The result section should have tables, should have graphs, which are to be clearly stated, numbered, and labeled altogether. Consider moving a large quantities of raw data, detailed derivations, and a code for to an appendix. Methods of plotting which produces well delineated lines should be considered. Results should be critically compared to theories. Considers limitations in theories and engineering tolerances per se as what we look forward to it. What happens in the discussion when you are trying to come to a conclusion? The discussion ties back to the introduction right at the beginning where we have stated the formal problem formulation of the hypothesis have taken places as in the second step that comes around here. Discussion is where we are going to refer back to these both steps altogether. This is what we are looking into it, the formulation of the hypothesis and the problems, identification of the problem. If there are any unexpected results, speculate here, speculate in your discussion. Claims are grounded in result and background materials in the introduction. Now, perhaps you are ready for the introduction and approach. Brief background, state, understand your hypothesis. Yes, state your hypothesis, probably your conclusion, as in what is the end result of the problem that you are trying to find out. Introduction is not a substitute for the report, so does not echo the abstract. Please do not report what has been mentioned in the abstract. So never have introduction conceptual as an abstract material. Here is a place for context relations to prior work, general objective and approach. Next is all about title, all about abstract, conclusions and other section. Title will give me clear understanding of what is the problem area that we are trying to address. Abstract or the executive summary, perhaps synopsis, will give me a mini versions of the paper in within around 200-300 words. Think of it as a substitute for the report for a busy reader who does not want to go through every pages of your report. Probably the reading the abstract would suffice. Or perhaps what if the reader has only access to the abstract? Probably before going to the paper's details, if the reader wants to read the abstract to find whether the report is very well documented or is it interesting or does it appeals to his knowledge, purpose, finding, impacts. Sentence 1, expand on a title. Sentence 2, where the work has been done. Remainder is all about key result with numbers appropriately mentioned. Your conclusion, your recommendation is what we are talking about it. The first sentence is that which will always be most impactful. Multi-threading has become a common programming technique. Perhaps describe your field. The first thing might be multi-threading, as the case might be. Explain why a problem matters. Unfortunately, debugging a multi-threading program can be difficult, can be problematic, can be issue, can be time consuming, can be resource consuming. So yes, we have described your field as multi-threading as a most common programming technique, but then debugging, find any bots which is not working towards thing can be difficult. So summarize the prior research. The difficulties using threads will be well summarized by John Osterbot, as the case might be. Now state your purpose. Now state your problem. Probably propose what you're going to go around it. In this article, we describe the tool called Eraser that dynamically detects data erases in multi-thread programs. Conclusions is a similar to abstract or an executive summary. Must be concise, must be precise, reinforces the key ideas formed in the discussion. Why did you come to arrive to a certain conclusion? It should reinforce it. Includes recommendation for future work, such as implementation of the design, perhaps. Theories and analysis briefly describe the theory relevant to the work. Provide design equation, provide calculation, provide computer simulation result, provide everything so that nobody can dispute the outcome of your research, provide values for all key parameters, experimental procedures, describe apparatus and material. Diagram of apparatus goes here. Open with an overview of an experimental design. Show test setups. This section should allow any electrical or computer engineer to duplicate your result. Repeat experiment. Validate experimental design, as the case might be. Figures, tables. Every figures must have a caption. Every figures must be labeled. Every figures must be numbered. Absolutely all tables should have a title. Everything should be mentioned. Summarize the data in the text if required. Make figures table first, then insert into the text. Put the table, put the figure beside the table. Put this in a standard location. Do not start a sentence with abbreviation. Figure versus fig. Write the full form of figure and that's it. No abbreviation. No acronym should be utilized. Just for your understanding, in your screen, you are seeing examples of figures that have been mentioned around here. Look the various examples that comes around as and when on basis. These are the figures that we talk around here. This is what has been mentioned as we speak around. So we have a lot many figures that comes around it. We have a multi-porite ways of representing data. So you need to find out what needs to be taken into consideration. The acknowledgement keep track of those that needs to be uh, given acknowledgement, given respect, given responsibly sourced form. You should not forget people who have contributed to your research outcomes, to your research. Include your sponsors, outside sources, companies, agencies, individual, department, campus, anybody who has helped you. But be brief. References, various formats have been developed. Pick the one which you like. I personally like IEEE transaction format. Decide on the sequence such as an order that they appear in. If it is a management article, write please have the format of APA methodologies. The APA transaction format works out there. For engineering papers is IEEE papers that goes around it. Always give full reference such as that others may find them easily. I'm just giving you an example of references how it has been mentioned, where it has not only been earmarked but has been numbered also. You see the author's name in the first, and probably the article, the book that we goes around it, the publishers, and when it was published from virtual times. Similarly, never ever copy the work of others without giving a proper credit. This, if you do it, it's called cheating. It's called plagiarism. It's a criminal offense per se to take somebody else intellectual property. Never take verbatim sentences, paragraph for a literature. If you feel that you must use verbatim material, use quotation mark. No harm in it. Give it a reference, but I certainly say that do it sparingly. There are search engines that can find verbatim material. There are software that can detect plagiarism. Professors fail students who do this. Additional disciplinary action may similarly. The other widely use of configuration of the DC commuters machine is the series finder motor. David Doe, Fall 9 also follow. So two quotes from ECE engineering reports before we wind up this particular presentation. We connect the citrus machine, Jane Doe, Spring 1999. I have deliberately change the names altogether for you to understand, because there is no point of defaming anyone. Now, 79, as the case might be. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video till the very end.